Alright, I'm back with my third rendition of the NES. I guess you can call it an emulation build, since we're not really using this for much home theater. A little bit, but I'm not going to put, I can't remember the one GUI for doing home theater stuff, the main one that everybody, XBMC. I'm not going to put XBMC on here. It can run on here, it's just going to take a lot of space that we're not going to use. The owner-to-be of this wants to use Windows, and when he wants it mainly for web browsing, but actually mainly for Nintendo emulation, and then for web browsing, and then he's just going to play some movies that he downloads off of USB and stuff. So anyway, I have it basically finished. The only thing I'm missing here is the HDMI cable, which will link into this one here to there, and the smallest you can buy is a 1-footer. It is in the mail, and it will be here soon. I have these two ports wired in to those microchips in the electrical tape, and then they're wired around to the USB slots. There's the hard drive, and just for the hard drive specs, I threw it back under there just so they don't lose the specs. Some RAM, the processor with its passive cooling, no fan, no sound. And if you notice, I have the board tilted. There's two different reasons I've done this. One reason is this back post that holds it is actually very hard. The way I put it really close to the edge there, and it's really hard to keep straightened out, but I could still work on it and straighten it out if I wanted to. These screws are all pretty well flush. But the other reason I decided to leave it there like that, because all I have to do is there's two nuts under there, and I could just raise the top one or raise the bottom one, and that would raise it and equalize it out. But what I'm going to do is test the heat transfer. As heat builds up under it, I'm hoping that since heat rises, it's going to roll off and come up the side. And if you guys know the lids on NES, they have vents right across here, so it should be able to come up out of the vents. And I'll show you that in a second. I do have one more USB extension cord, which will be plugged into this front, which I can show you. Here's the top lid. There's the USB. I am not done attaching the last part. The last part will go over the top here to make it look nice and pretty. It looks ugly on this side, obviously, but it will look pretty on the other side. And there's those vents I was talking about. So that is where this is. Those bolts, those nuts there at the bottom are glued on, and then I have spacers with stainless steel screws going through to hold it into place, so you don't have screw marks on the back side. But I'll have this nice and neat. Wires in the way, and I'm trying to hold the camera too. Does not work. We could just lay this in here for the time being, which I will mount it later. There. Now it looks pretty well like a standard NES from the sides, and when you lift this up, voila, USB slots. That way you will be able to plug in, if you have a friend come over with a USB controller, he can do that. Flash drive, so you can install stuff or load videos or music onto it. There you go. This does not have a CD-ROM on it at all, and if anybody knows that CD-ROMs are falling to the wayside with how fast bandwidth is going on in the internet, along with USB flash devices and USB hard drives, there's almost no need for CD-ROMs except for operating system installs and stuff for like Windows. Not even Linux is just all USB now. So turn to the side. Yeah, I got some dust on here. I do have a USB. Let me see if I can clear that up a little bit. There we go. I do have a USB on the side. This other hole, I am not sure what I'm going to do to it yet. If I'm going to fill it, if I'm going to just leave it there for venting. I installed Windows on this already, so I have my little Logitech dongle for my keyboard mouse setup. I'll put that in there, but dual USB stack right there, and that was that other USB header. And then the best part, whoop, the back of that, very clean Cat 5, because he will have a hard line going to this. There's the power and the HDMI, and the rest of it is nice and clean. Except I just noticed there's a little crack in the case right there, and that's going to kill me later. My OCD got to keep the cover nice and perfect. So that's about it. Except for the LED. The LED on the standard Nintendo, when you first buy them, run at, I believe, 2.1 volts. Well, the motherboard that's in here, I just love how neat that looks, except there's a hole right here where that other plate I have is going to go and kind of cover it up and make it look all pretty in there, from the back side obviously. Well, so anyway, oh yeah, these switches, I wish I would have took a video before I installed this. Switches I rewired to another one of these, took one of these USB extensions and rewired all the switches and the light to come around to the front panel header, the motherboard header. So the power switch works, the reset works, which is probably not the best. I was debating on putting in a keyboard controller hooked up to this reset button that would simulate a keyboard stroke that would be equivalent to Shift R for Nestopia, the emulator's in-game reset hotkey is Shift R. So you would be able to press this button and it would just reset the game that you were in. I have not done that yet. It may be a mod that I will do in the future. For now, it resets the computer. If you're in the middle of Windows and it crashes and you're pissed and you don't want to hold down the power button for 10 seconds, just lightly tap that, boom, you're out of it. But it's dangerous if you got kids around. Anyway, like I was saying, 2 volts on the LED, the red LED that you get on a standard Nintendo. To make this one different, and I will show in my last video that shows the software, to make this one different, I have changed this one to blue. It is nice bright blue. It comes, most blue comes about the standard power of this. This is 3.3 volts of power come out of the power LED connector here. So this LED is a 3.6 volt blue LED, which still will fall under the 3.3 volts, and it's very bright and shiny and looks pretty to the sight and kind of distinguishes it as a Nintendo PC and not a regular Nintendo. My first Nintendo I built, I replaced the LED with a red 3.3 volt red LED. So it is nice. My other one is nice bright red, and I'm in the process of modding that to put in the keyboard controller I'm gonna do on mine. I'm putting in the SATA hard drive on mine, because right now I'm running the actual SATA and SATA power. I'm running that in and have the hard drive mounted underneath the motherboard on my other one, which is unacceptable because I have a new 256 gig SATA. And that's about it. It's nice, sexy, beautiful. This thing runs great so far. Both the ports still need to be configured. Software needs to be configured for the emulator, and I will show that in my next video. Thank you.